All right, here's another uh, day in the workshop, if you will. Let's talk putters. What I have in my hands is a run-of-the-mill Mills putter, not very expensive. I bought this from Bob G. He was kind enough to ship it to me, almost at his cost, because I'm sending it overseas for a friend. And my friend is a modern golfer. He plays a lab putter that he says is so heavy on the swing weight that it won't measure on a scale. And even though he's a smaller guy than I am, he plays his putter 38 inches long. Now, I got as upright a putter as I could find. This is a medium lie. Couldn't find an upright lie, but I think it's going to suffice. However, I had 2 or 3 issues. It was beat up, and I didn't want it that beat up. I don't mind leaving some character in a club. I don't want it to look new, but I didn't want it that beat up. So I took a very fine mill file. You can use the fine side of one of these utility files even. And I cleaned up a lot of the deeper gouges and stuff. Just knocked it down to where it's still got gouges. It looks like it's been played, but it's not all beat to devil. It looks like it's actually been maintained. The other thing I did was I took a little bit of loft off the face, dropped it to about 3 degrees, and I cleaned that face up. It looked like you'd been putting ball bearings or something with it when I got it. After I did all that, it was too light also, so I drilled some of the lead out of the back, and I dropped in tungsten slugs that are used in those Pine Box Derby cars, and I've used all mine up. I don't have one I can share you, but it has twice the weight of the lead that was originally in there. So for that amount of lead that I removed, I doubled the amount of weight that was in that cavity, and I've gotten this thing really good and heavy now. I used JB Weld behind it because it's gray, and when you finish it off and everything, put a little super glue over the top to color it, it looks just like the original lead. Now you can see the little skin marks here are bright. What you don't know is after I had hit this with a file to knock the markings or take some of the dings out of it, I cleaned it up with sandpaper. Then I took Aluma-Black. Keep this stuff away from anything that'll corrode. It's basically a mild acid that oxidizes the aluminum and turns it dark. It accelerates what would happen over years, if you will. You don't want that getting through anything that'll corrode. It will absolutely rust the tar out of it. So I keep it separately and out of the way. So now I've got a putter that's the proper weight. The head looks good. It doesn't look brand new. I'll touch these little places up. It's still got kind of the original patina after I regrade it with the Aluma-Black. Cleaned the shaft up and refinished it. And I had to extend it to 38 inches because there's no way you're going to find an old putter that's 38 inches long. Now to do this, I use something I've talked about before. But if I'm going to put an extension on that's more than just an inch, I don't use my tenon system with one of those guides that I talk about making earlier for punching those holes straight in. I have one that I've made for putting these tenons into a shaft. And I use this if I'm only going to extend a ½ inch, or something like that. If you get much beyond 1.5 inches, it can put too much stress on the lower part of this shaft and cause you a crack depending on where you're doing your extension. So I favor this. Now, I bought this from a supply company online. It cuts a tenon that's used in building shaker chairs for the self-locking tenon that they use for putting the legs and all in. I like that a lot. If you pay attention with it, you can get it good straight, and I cut that tenon starting at 34 inches or so down. That left me with a pointed tenon, if you will, shank on this sticking up. I have a matching reamer that matches the profile of that inside. They sold me that also. And I use simply a step bit to start my hole, get it in there as much as I can. Then I go by with my reamer and clean it up to get the thing. Then I epoxy it on. Now I use a piece of oversized hickory. In other words, it's a little bit bigger than the shaft was. That gives me, if it's not perfectly straight, I can true it up, which I've done on this. But anyway, that's the way I do it. And I end up with an extension that's supported that far inside of there, 360 degrees, not like a scarf joint that's only supported in one direction. This is stronger than the original shaft. If it breaks anywhere, it's not going to be where I did this extension. Plus, it's in the handle. But I would not be scared to do this anywhere on the golf club. I'm telling you, I've tried to break these before, and I always break the original shaft before I break it where I've joined it. I do make sure that I've trued the grain up as it was originally so that it lines up and looks right from the top. But what I have now is an insanely heavy older Mills putter that's 38 inches long that I will finish out and send to my friend in Scotland. And he will be able to play in any tournament with it because it's an original club, yet it's going to feel much more like a modern club in his hands. He won't have to adjust to the lighter weight and 6 to 8 degrees of loft on it. Anyway, have a great day. Hope that helps you. Let me know if you have any questions.